about comparing last year's defense, which was really good statistically, to this year, which is starting to play really well again. So how are they similar? How are they the same or different?
Similar in the fact of what they, what we view as important. What our standards are, what our how we approach each week. That's just kind of something we're trying to, or have tried to. I think we're getting there, just build here as a standard of play. I think they're very similar in that. I think where they're different is where the pieces that are showing up. Akeem Mezadore being the obvious one that sticks out at a number of different positions along the front with how we play and the level he's playing at, which takes some pressure off of Dante. And also, if you watch Todd Charleston through 3 games, has really brought something that we haven't had at that 5 technique spot, mainly power and explosiveness. And I'll say this about Taj that not a lot of people talk about. Like, Taj is an extremely high effort player, and that shows. And so where we're different is the pieces that are making the biggest difference. Were last year, it was some guys in the secondary and our Mike linebacker, and this year it's a number of different spots up front.
A lot about Akeem Mezadore as well and his performance so far this year. What is it about him? Is it like the versatility on the line that makes him special, or what exactly is it that he's doing so well this year?
It's just how he plays. He plays the game the way the game was designed to be played, and that's really it. I mean, he I know he gets tired sometimes, but he doesn't play like it. There's a couple of plays that a lot of them don't show up on stat sheets that are it's a relentless effort to the football, and that's what it is. It's as simple as that, and that's what sets him apart from not only guys on a lot of guys on this team, but across college football. He plays the game the right way.
You mentioned Todd Charleston. He was hurt so much you guys' first 2 years. Did you really know what you had with him, or are you just sort of starting to figure it out now?
Yeah, I think we knew a little bit. He's from Colin, which is a junior college down in Mississippi, so I had knowledge of Taj because I recruited that area when we were at Troy and obviously coached there. So I had an idea of skill set what we had. As a player, really didn't, because we didn't have the opportunity to get him out there. I say that. He actually had a really impressive play first quarter against Missouri in 19. Had a really impressive sack against James Madison. I'm sorry, let me flip that. Had a really impressive sack against James Madison. The same type of play. It was actually the play he got hurt on against Missouri. He would have sacked him if he doesn't injure his knee. So had an idea, but how far he's come since then, we didn't know. But it's good to see.
Needed more to get more playing time out of your defensive line, also linebacker. Is he talking about Josh, the middle linebackers, or you need to maybe get somebody else in there a little bit more? He thought they got a little tired because they had all those plays in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean we got to get a little more out of our depth. Again, you have to, in certain situations in the middle of ball games, you have to make yourself. And me mainly, rely on your backups and in some areas and some situations on the field that you think hey, maybe we could give a little bit here and be okay. You don't want to. Obviously, you're not thinking that way against Oklahoma, because no matter where they're at on the field, they can score. So we've got to do a better job of getting those guys, and all those guys are different skill sets. So you got to know that. You have to do things that they can do and put them in a situation to be successful. If you don't, it's bad coaching.
Because your guys are playing so well, and you got all these different things that you're considering during the game. whether they're tired or not, I'm sure that plays a role, but how do you really know?
We got to pay attention, you know, and even when things are moving fast, situations get tight, you have to pay attention, and we've got to do a better job of that.
So depth-wise, anybody, especially in your front line, that you feel is close to? Jordan Jefferson's getting a lot of time. Sean Martin. Who else is close, or do they still have to develop?
Well, I mean, you know, two guys that stick out are Jaylen Thornton and Darrell Middleton. You know, and Jaylen got to be, you know, smart, the situation, what he's ready for. You know, Darrell honestly is still playing a little bit of catch up just off the timetable that he got here and learning some of the things. And so you have to be smart with what you do there. But you know, I tell you, a guy that's practicing really well, that is showing a lot of signs of development is Tor Simmons. I mean, be a guy that we look to also. So I mean, you know, the guys that you mentioned, Jordan Jefferson and Sean Martin. Those guys can be very versatile along the front. So what we've got to do is figure out some things maybe they're a little bit different than traditionally what we do defensively up front that fit what they do, and find some more snaps there in the second, third quarters of ball games.
You're a defensive coach. Give me a reason why defensive players are snubbed all the time on Heisman, not even considered.
You know, it's the guy that gets credit and then more than he should, and the guy that gets the blame more than he should is the quarterback. It's just a quarterback. It's a stat-driven game. You know, I mean, it's you know, I think what was the last one? Charles Woodson, the only one. So, I mean, and a lot of his were return game. You know, he scored touchdowns. So, you know, I don't know that you'll ever see. You ever see that, and it's just that's not what makes, you know, just watch the Sports Center highlights. You know, I mean, you see more touchdowns and offensive plays than you do defensive plays. Just the nature of the game.
You think if coaches voted for it, it might be different?
I don't know. A lot more offensive coaches than defensive coaches, head coach wise. So probably about the same result.
Lead the country in explosive plays. I think they got 9 of 50 yards or more. Is it because of scheme or good individual play?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that's what they try to be. You know, they try to live by explosive plays. Always have, as long as I've been you know, at least coaching in this league and even watching it before. This has kind of been their MO. You know, that's how they want to get started. It's how they thrive. So I think it's probably a little bit of both.
Number one concern for you, call and be scrambling and extending plays?
Yeah, I mean that hurt us last year. You know, their tempo is as good as fast as anybody. They execute it as good as anybody. And then obviously, you know, their speed on the edges, along with him being able to extend plays. You know, so they're even last week, I think they still had 420 plus yards of offense. And they're gonna, you know, that's what they've been for a long time. So, yeah, that's something that they're a good offensive football team.
Last thing here, their O-line is like a basketball team. I mean, they got 6'7", 6'8" guys across the board. They don't give up a lot of sacks. Is that because the quick game? Is that what they try to do to get rid of the ball quickly?
Yeah, I think it's a number of things. I think it's a quick game. I think it's the tempo of the play. I think it's how they start and how they stretch you and spread you to get your, you know, any team that does that, that's, you know, they're trying to get your D-line, the effectiveness of your D-line kind of out of the game. So, yeah, but a lot of it is, you know, the ball's gone in, you know, around 2 seconds.
Coach Brown talked a lot about their receiver, number 13, having a really big year. I mean, is that going to be a big focal part of the game plan, trying to find a way to limit
yeah, you have to know where he is. You know, I mean, you have to figure out where he is and then how they plan on using him. You see how they've used him up to this point, so you got a game plan for that. But yeah, you have to know where he is.
How much has Ford grown since some of the mistakes in that Maryland game? What did you see from him Saturday?
A lot. a ton. You know, Saturday was one of the first times that I had seen Darrell play with a lot of confidence. And Darrell's not the biggest guy, so sometimes that's you look at that and you're like, okay, well that's why. But he didn't blink. And Oklahoma's as good as anybody in the country at receiver, I think. So Darrell, since that game, and the game started, just like anybody at his age, most every press conference I always come back to guys in that group that were COVID, whatever a COVID freshman is, but they go through not a normal freshman year, and now you start to see the growth that they would have in a normal year, and that he would normally be ahead of where he is, but that game starts to slow down, then you start to see that growth, and with that comes confidence. So I thought Saturday was the first time I'd seen Darrell play that way, and the atmosphere. I think anybody plays up to that, and the magnitude of the game. So hopefully he can continue that.
Okay, anything else for Coach?
Jordan, they have big receivers, which is kind of one of those things that I'm guessing you've noticed through the years too. That's always been something they've had to. Is that anything that comes up during a week that's not different from a guy who, I mean, is 5'11", 6'1" any different than 6'4", 6'5" when it comes to how you play defense?
Yeah, I mean, the reasons that those guys are recruited in those offenses is they don't have to necessarily be as fast as some of the smaller guys. The ball can be thrown to a spot, and they can win on what they are, whether it's their strength, their length, anything but straight up speed. And so you always have to know that, and you have to know where they are, where you're at on the field, how you have to play certain areas, whether it be the balls on the hash, balls in the middle, or the balls in the red zone, what yard line it is. There's all kinds of factors that go into, why they recruit a guy like that and where they use him. And if they're using him inside, then it's normally for matchup purposes, which you see a lot with tight ends. So you have to game plan for and kind of find where the pieces fit.